You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Welcome in, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I feel like the only times I've ever done this sitting directly next to Cole have been when great things are happening. We've done this, after the Oklahoma game in football, after the Big 12 championship game in football, and now we are here talking about K-State beating Kentucky, and Cole and I just got to watch it in his basement. I'd say, we were joking about the Iowa State game, that we watched the Iowa State football game down there. This was maybe like a little less stressful than that. Like maybe a little, I don't know. There was one point where I was like, I was literally like so nervous. I was like shaking. Cole was like trying to talk to me and I was just like, dude, I'm dying over here. Yeah. Like, I don't know what to, I don't know what to tell you. You were like trying to do some serious analysis or insight or something. And I was just like, I got nothing. But boy, what a hell of a game. I don't even know what to say about this team, man. I mean, you guys know me. I'm just trying to run my mouth today. Like Cole, I was trying to caution you a little bit on the guardrails of the Oklahoma football game. I don't know. I'm just ready to run my damn mouth all day today. So I guess, your opening statement, sir.
Well, I mean, I would just say, first of all, great things happen when we watch games together, right? I can't think of many bad moments we've had when we watch things together. So let's get John Kurtz to New York City. My wife just booked airfare and our hotels in New York. I just got to get us our tickets, and I'm traveling to New York for the first time in my life, and I am so excited and thrilled for the players on this team that get to go home, and all the players just in general for advancing to the Sweet 16 and what was one of the best wins in a long time for K-State basketball, in a game that was a roller coaster of emotions. And every time you felt like Kentucky had taken control of the game with some of the runs they went on, K-State had an answer. And we'll get into the details of how this game swung in K-State's favor and some of the performances that were just absolutely dynamic by some of K-State's players and the moments that were captured. But overall, John, right before we went on air, I was talking to you that we need to find footage of the Bill Snyder opening statement in 1989 when he took the job at Kansas State football, and the Jerome Tang side by side his opening press conference when he said, Bill said, opportunity for the greatest turnaround exists here today. And Jerome Tang said, this was not going to take long. And both guys seemed like they were quite correct and prophetic in their statements that they made. Now, I know basketball is a little different animal, and it's not the turnaround of what football did. But for what Jerome Tang and this basketball team has done and this coaching staff in year one, I'm shocked. I mean, it's just amazing.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Like, and I mean, not just like, here's the thing about this win. And I have been dealing with Kentucky fans in my mentions for the last 24 hours because I dared question their beat writers on baiting Naquan Tomlin into a statement that, by the way, he absolutely backed up. So, like, outside of Oscar, we just go do our thing, right? And Naquan Tomlin was a freaking man tonight. But I had some of them in there like, your greatest, your program's greatest tournament win in 50 years was against us. Well, first of all, now it's happened twice. Second of all, it's not really even like, this is a great win. I don't want to take anything away from the win, but Cole, it's not like this was some heroic upset performance or anything like that. Like, K-State felt like, to me, the better side in the game. The first 10 minutes or so were pretty ugly, but after that, I mean, I felt like K-State was the better team. Like, Kentucky had the bully ball thing going on with Shibwe, but if not for the way that the fouls racked up in the second half and Kentucky just getting bailed out with free throws for about 7 to 8 possessions in a row there in the second half, I mean, K-State really, really controlled the thing. So that's what's amazing, just tying this all back to the point that you're making about Tang and his statement. This is not some like Marquise and the Miracles sort of thing. Like, they belong, and guys had big moments. Like, Naquan Tomlin stepped up and played an amazing game. 12 points, 6 boards, 4 blocks, 2 steals, in particular in the first half when K-State had to have it, when none of the shots were falling or anything like that. That dude was a man inside, and that has not always been the case this year. And then Ish Massoud hasn't peed a whole drop the whole game, and then just decides to whack a 25-footer to put K-State in front at a huge moment. So this team all came together, so many pieces, and obviously Marquise, was just awesome. But this team belongs. They belong, and they've got a chance at a Final Four, man. I mean, it is crazy. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but he legitimately built a team capable of getting to the Final Four in this short period of time.
Well, I mean, Jerome Tang's made it clear, John, that he wanted to go to a place where he felt like he could win a national championship. And clearly, just in year one, he now feels that way. They're 4 games away from getting to a national championship game, 3 wins away from playing in a national title, 2 from a Final Four. They're in the Sweet 16, and we'll get into the bracket falling their way a little bit. But if they could get past the Elite 8 game, there is a favorable potential matchup in the Elite 8 to get to the Final Four. And look, we know that's happened before for K-State over the last 10, 12 years.
K-State and Farley Dickinson for the Final Four, baby.
Yeah, but, just to do it the way they did, and Marquise Noel and Naquan Tomlin. And look, I mean, here's the thing. K-State 0 of 12 from 3 in the first half. But, yeah, K-State was up 3 points. John, they went 12 of 17 on 2s, and we were just astounded by this while watching the game. And we look back at it at halftime. K-State 12 of 17 on 2s, 0 of 12 from 3 in the first half. Literally, all 12 2-point makes were dunks or layups. They did not hit a jump shot in the first half. In the second half, K-State makes one shot that was not a 3 that happened to be 5 foot from the rim, and that was a Marquise Noel floater that put them up 47-43. Outside of that, again, it was either 3-pointers. They went 5 of 9 from 3 in the second half, or it was layups or dunks at the rim. And K-State 2 of 18 from 3 going into the final 4 minutes of the game. And the last 3 minutes and 30 seconds, starting with Marquise Noel hitting a huge 3. Like the Marquise Noel 3 to pull them when they're down 4 and that arena's buzzing. Kentucky fans are on their feet. K-State's down 60-56. And Marquise Noel coming off a screen hits a 3 to pull them within 1. That was huge. And then K-State gets a turnover, gets the ball back. Masood hits the 3. Then Kentucky misses a 3, and Keontae Johnson, who had struggled all game, like one of Keontae's worst games that he's played in a long time. I mean, he looked like he was he was short on a lot of his shots. He had a couple of key turnovers,
giving up wide open rebounds. I mean, he did not look. Yeah,
and Keontae Johnson hits a step back 3, nothing but net to put him up 5. They go 3 of 3 from 3 over the last 3 minutes and 30 seconds of that game. So. Just stepping up and making plays when the pressure is on. These guys do not get intimidated by the big moment. And it's just evident and just I don't know what to say. I mean, they go 8 of 8 at the foul line in the last 40 seconds of the game too. I mean, they're just nails.
So I see Hugh Cat saying Ish also battled Oscar. I mean, Ish and Gasson too. Like Gasson played a pretty damn good couple of games here, man. I mean, everybody really stepped up. I mean, Shibwe, I don't know, what were his final stats, Cole?
25 and 18.
Okay, I mean, obviously, that's going to look ridiculous, but that was kind of the idea. It was you let him go off and you take care of the other stuff and you should be okay. But even with that stat line, it felt like K-State did put up I agree, UCAT, they put up a pretty good fight between Naquan, Ish, and David Gasson, all guys who Naquan didn't get in foul trouble today against Oscar Shibwe of all people. Didn't get in foul trouble. Played really smart. Played really tough. Ish and then Gasson, who are more finesse sort of guys. They all had a part in really battling there. And just I cannot say enough. I cannot say enough about those guys. Just nutting up. I mean, that's what it was, man. It was just they just played with some big balls today. Everybody, the entire team. I see Puduk. With Desi. I mean, Desi, very, very tough. I mean, we knew, I remember early in the season, Jerome Tang pushing, and this, I'm talking non-con season, when Desi kind of went through a slump. Tang pushing through the media, really trying to get people to write stories about Desi being a winner and trying to emphasize that. And I think get his confidence going at that time. I remember myself, being a little bit cynical at the time, was kind of okay, I mean, nothing against Desi. I like the guy, but I'm It seems like maybe a little. No, that was clearly very smart and very correct. Like Desi is 1,000% a winner. He is very tough, and he does a lot for this team when they really need him to. And then he stepped up and hit a couple free throws there at the end of the game. So I mean, just everybody played a role.
Yeah, I mean, Desi battling the hip injury that he suffered in the first half. He ends up with 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 of 7 at the free throw line. Knocks down a couple big free throws down the stretch on the front end of the 1-and-1, and knocks down the second as well. Like everybody knows that. Like Desi's one of the most likable guys that I can remember at K-State in a long time because of the way that he carries himself, the way that he plays. He's so hard-nosed, relentless effort, but also he's just fun off the court too. Like he's got a great personality, just an amazing guy that everybody loves. I mean, all these guys are so likable off the court as well as on the court, the way that they carry themselves.
The thing that this is going back to Montana State, but I Desi still is, for one. I mean, Jareem orchestrating media interviews for him while he's submerged in an ice bath was great. But literally, Desi, like, from the ice bath straight into the camera like that, he's asked about Keontae and Marquise, and he was just like, those guys are the best duo in the country. No cap. In an ice bath. Like, it was just – all of it was just perfect. I thought it was just, like, perfectly Desi. I really, really appreciated that moment, man.
Yeah.
I love him. Shout out to Desi.
Yeah,
shout out to that guy.
And I think David Gasson had 3 steals. I know people have shouted him out. I thought he played great defense as well. And look, here's the thing about Oscar Tshiebwe, and we talked about this on the scouting report.
No, here's the thing about Oscar Tshiebwe. He travels every goddamn time he touches the ball, and he gets away with murder because he gets that Jalen Wilson treatment, man. That is the thing. It's a little infuriating that we can't ever get Keontae to get that sort of treatment. But yes,
we got a comment from Aaron Adams who says Noel with Ja Morant NCAA stats, only second player since 1990 with 40 points and 20 assists. So I assume that's in the first 2 NCAA tournament games.
It is. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, because if you look at what just Noel did in the first game with 17 points and 14 assists against Montana State. He's one of just 2 players since 2014 in the NCAA tournament to have 14 assists or more. And now he has 9 assists and 27 points in this game. And, not to distract from that, because we'll talk about Noel and how big he was in this game in a little bit as well here. But Tshiebwe, 5 turnovers in this game. And what was the scouting report? If you can double him, you can force him into some mistakes. K-State forces 10 turnovers between Tshiebwe and their point guard, Cason Wallace.
How many turnovers did K-State have?
K-State had 8 turnovers, guys.
That's why I was like, it felt pretty low.
So what did we talk about going into this game as one of the keys? I tweeted it out. We talked about it on the preview pod. Kentucky came into this game ranked 268th in the country in turnovers per possession forced at 16.3%. When K-State turns the ball over 15 times or less in a game coming into today, they were 13-2 since the start of Big 12 play. Kentucky had not forced 16 turnovers or more in their last 22 games entering today. K-State only turns the ball over 8 times, which was huge in the game because one of the big things that keyed Kentucky's run early in the second half, that 11-0 run, was a couple of crucial turnovers, a couple bad shots. Kentucky got out and ran in transition, and that kind of keyed their big run. But for the most part, K-State really, really took care of the basketball, and they're now 14-2 when turning it over 15 times or less, and 14-2 against teams that force a turnover rate of 19.5% or less. And Kentucky turned it over 16 times, John, which is the 3rd highest the Wildcats have turned the ball over on the season, the 2nd highest since the start of SEC play. So that was a huge part as well. K-State just forcing Kentucky into mistakes, 11 turnovers by Kentucky in the first half alone.
Well, let's go back. Let's talk defense as a whole, man. I mean, they defended their asses off today. And they did against Montana State too, by the way. I thought they played a really good defensive game. And I remember like late in the conference season, we were talking about this. And I think I even made the comment something like, if the defense would come around a little bit. And that was when you guys first alerted me to hey, go check KenPom. Like they're actually like a top 30 defensive efficiency team, when it didn't really feel like that for a lot of the year. I mean, I don't know what KenPom would tell you right now, but the defense just seems like it is come light years from where it was toward the beginning of conference play. Remember the Texas game? Great game. They scored 111 points, but Texas also was right there, kind of hot on your tail. They were not defending at Baylor. That was a game in the 90s. They were not defending all that well at that point in time. And now here in the NCAA tournament, when you have to have it, you have to go win a rock fight against Kentucky in Greensboro, a home game essentially for Kentucky. You're right there just defending your ass off against a team that has all this 4- and 5-star talent all over its roster. I mean, those guys, and that kind of comes back to like just the toughness of guys like Naquan who embodied all of that. But their defense really helped win them this game.
Yeah, I mean, and Wildcats got the stat: 11 steals, 4 blocks. Tomlin had all 4 blocks. Like the way that he matched their physicality and only commits 3 fouls in the game and only 1 foul in the first half, so he doesn't have to sit. Like we're starting to see what happens when Naquan Tomlin plays a significant amount of minutes. Montana State, he has 13 points in the second half alone and was huge in that game down the stretch. And in this game, he has 12.6 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals, like you already said, John. I mean, he was tremendous throughout the entirety of the game. So, I mean, I thought that was a huge part. After today, K-State is now number 17 in the country in defense per Ken Palm.
Okay.
So, look, this is a top 20 defensive team that has been nails, and Kentucky, 4 of 20 from 3. And look, yes, they missed some open shots, but that's part of the game plan as well. Now, one of the shocking parts of this game and biggest aspects that occurred was Antonio Reeves, who is second on Kentucky's team in scoring at nearly 15 points per game on the season, transferred from Illinois State, nearly 2,000 points in his entire career 37% three-point shooter, and 41% from 3 on the season. He had 5 threes against Providence in the 6-11 game in the first round of the NCAA tournament. He goes 1 of 10 from 3 against K-State. 0 of 9 on his first 9. He hit what proved to really be a meaningless 3 with about 20 seconds left in that game today. But 1 of 15 from the floor for Reeves, who is really their best shot maker as a guard. He's a 6'5" senior, and they completely shut him down. And so that was a big aspect. Well, we've talked about it all year, that K-State is one of the top 15 three-point defenses in America. And yes, there's some outliers. You look at the TCU game in Kansas City. Look, TCU just hit shots. Like, K-State is an elite defensive team from 3, and Kentucky goes 4 of 20 from the 3-point line in this game. So while K-State went 5 of 21, Kentucky goes 4 of 20. I mean, that was a huge aspect too.
I'm reading this quote that someone just threw in from Tank. Tradition does not help you if you don't get out on the floor and play with dudes. We had more. I love. Let me say this about Coach Tang. That is it. Thank you, Mason, for this quote. We had more dudes than they did today. That's what that was. I had not seen that yet. I cannot love that quote anymore. And I cannot love how Jerome Tang handles himself at press conferences anymore, because that answer that he had where the Kentucky media, these jabronis, basically like trying to bait, not even the Tomlin baiting thing, but like trying to get Tang to give them some fluffy quote, like just bowing at the altar of Kentucky is what they were trying to do in the press conference beforehand, right? They're trying to get like, oh, they're great, Coach Cal, all this tradition, whatever. And Jerome Tang gave them none of that. He said, look, we snapped their 55-game home court winning streak when I was at Baylor. We beat them twice in the tournament when I was at Baylor. He didn't say this, but I wanted to just tack on to that. And K-State beat them in freaking Atlanta 5 years ago in the Sweet 16. We're not scared of Kentucky. Nobody is scared of Kentucky at this point anymore. Nobody is bowing at the altar of anything. I mean, we could talk about Kentucky's program for a long time here, but they're second. They're not in the top tier of college basketball programs right now. They had gone over 1,300 days without a tournament win before whoever the hell they beat in round 1, Providence. That is not, and I just love that Tang does not give into that. He is going to stand up for his guys. He's got some cockiness to him, like at the podium, and I freaking love that. And he is right. He is right. He is right. He is right. They had more dudes than Kentucky out there today. So I love that quote. I love that quote.
Well, I mean, I thought his quote in the press conference yesterday on Saturday, just about, he knows Cat fans travel, but our fans travel too at Kansas State.
He said our Cats travel too. That's a good line.
Yeah. And look, he just acknowledged that he'd beaten Kentucky multiple times in his coaching career, and then John Calipari acts like he doesn't even remember it. All he remembers is an ice storm in Waco, which just shows the arrogance of Calipari.
Calipari sucks. I mean, he sucks. Like, Calipari is what people accused Scott Drew of being for a very long time, which is get some McDonald's All-Americans and roll the ball out there and then be disappointing in the postseason, right? I mean, that was kind of like Scott Drew's reputation there for a while, which was stupid because he took over a program that couldn't even play a full schedule because of the scandal, the whole murder thing in that program that he took over. That was always a dumb narrative with Scott Drew. But that is what Cal is now. They don't win in the tournament. The fans hate them. Like, there's been these rumors of Texas trying to go after it. Does Texas even want Cal? Would you want him right now? And I've never seen a guy complain more about officials throughout an entire game. Every single call, Cal is whining over there. Shut up, dude. Shut up and go get some better dudes. Or go, I don't know what he's going to do. Go to the NBA.
So this is a live look at Calipari after every call.
Yes.
Every call.
Yes. And then whoever it was up here that said he called Marquise, and then he said the little dude hit a 3 or whatever late in the game. Screw off, man.
It's just
go enjoy. Have fun. You're going to go back to your McMansion, and that's great. But enjoy sitting in your man cave while K-State plays in the Garden. Suck it, buddy.
I mean, look, that just shows how smug and arrogant and entitled that Calipari is, that he acts like he doesn't know these guys' names. I think that's inappropriate. First of all, though, you mentioned it, beating him in 18, John, and now they beat him in 23. They beat him in Atlanta, and they beat him in Greensboro. K-State had to travel the farthest out of all 16 of the top seeds in this NCAA tournament, going over 1,100 miles to Greensboro, North Carolina. Kentucky had a 400-mile drive. 6 hours, and they had what? I mean, we weren't there, but we saw all the K-State media guys talking about how many fans they had. You basically beat Kentucky twice now, and in Catlanta, like they like to refer to Atlanta, you beat them then to go to the Elite Eight, and you beat them now to go to the Sweet 16 when they basically are playing a home game. I mean, that's pretty darn special. I mean, I imagine we joked before the game that Kentucky might start to think of K-State as their Wisconsin, like K-State fans do in the tournament, and now they probably will hate to see K-State on the seed line. Look, K-State was an underdog going into this game. The disrespect that a 3 seed, a team that competed in the best league in America, a team that had beaten, maybe top 6 or 7 quad 1 wins in America going into this game. Like, they'd beaten teams better than Kentucky all year. And they were not intimidated by playing a game in front of a road atmosphere with all these Kentucky fans there, and the narrative that K-State struggles on the road away from home. They once again proved like they won at Texas. They won at Baylor. They basically just won at Kentucky. They beat 3 neutral court games in the Cayman Islands. This team can win home or away. So an incredible moment, incredible day to advance the Sweet 16. And I mean, to be honest, like when your local schools go out, I'm not here to throw shade at Missouri or KU, but it's nice in the Midwest to, now advance, and you're the talk of the area because KU's out.
Did you say you're not here to throw shade at KU?
Jordan's our producer. He's a KU guy. I'm just, I'm here to celebrate and bask in K-State. And Jerome Tang would not want us to throw shade at KU because this is about KSU, John.
Hey,
it's about KSU today.
It's a big day for Jordan. Kevin McCullough's Kansas career is over. So it's a big day. It's a big day. By the way, I see my guy Silent Tyler said Coach Cal at Texas Tech. I would not wish that on Texas Tech. I like Tech a lot. Probably my favorite non-K-State Big 12 fan base. Gambling Gauchos, those guys are my dudes. I would not wish Coach Cal onto them. They can do better.
Even after they were trying to push the whole Tang joking thing to Texas Tech.
Yeah, but it's just a whole part of their bit. They're doing it with everybody.
And Luke, shout out to you, man. You were there in Greensboro today at the game. What a special moment to be able to take that in. Look, I was in the media covering K-State when they advanced to the Sweet 16 for the first time in my lifetime back in 2010 with Jacob Pullen and Denny Clemente, and it was a special night. And I imagine that it's quite a special moment for you guys. Like, I'm watching from TV with John and our guy Chris, who was over here watching the game with us, and the kids, and we had a great time. But now I'm going to New York City, guys. I mean, I'm here to sing New York, New York. I mean, I was trying to sing it before my wife cut the video off.
But stopped the recording when we started singing.
I mean, people thought I didn't know what I was doing with my hands. It's because I was getting ready to sing New York, New York. I mean, you guys could have heard my voice. I mean, I come from a family of musicians, so. My mom was a vocal music teacher. I didn't get to show it off for you guys. So, but I'm so excited to go to New York City, to Madison Square Garden. And I'm so excited for these guys from New York. What a dream scenario. We talked about this a month ago, like the opportunity to be in the East region maybe and go back to New York. But it felt like a long shot because you'd have to get seeded in the East and then you have to win 2 games. And now Marquise Noel, Naquan Tomlin, Tyke Green, and Ishmael Massoud and Curtis Kelly on the staff to go home and coach in Madison Square Garden, where I don't believe any of these guys have probably gotten to play again.
Well, let's tie a couple things together here. Aaron's comment where he says Coach Tang is building a national brand. True, so true. Standalone game on CBS, national stage, practically a Kentucky home game. That is very true. That is a part of brand building. And I I think I actually said this was when I was on 610. I get confused what I said on the podcast, what I said on 610, but I was like, look, this team has a chance to be a massively popular story in March Madness. Like, not just because, I mean, they play such a fun style. Like, it wasn't just beating Kentucky. They got into the Harlem Globetrotters bag for a little bit there, particularly at the end of the first half. Noel's behind the back and his bounce between the legs and the alley-oop there at the end of the half, the deep threes. Like, they are just a fun team to watch. I got a buddy, Josh Graham, he's a great radio host in the Triad, which is like Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and Raleigh. Is that the other one around there? Anyway, great radio host over there. And so he's covering the tournament, and he texts me. He was like, man, he doesn't really, I don't think it paid a ton of attention to K-State this year, but he texted me very early on in the media sessions. He was like, this is a really fun team. And then he texted it to me again in the Montana State game, I think is when he texted me that. He was like, this team is really fun. And I was like, yeah. And that's a guy who is in the business, does it for a living, didn't really have any other impressions of K-State at all, and just immediately picked up on that. And so that's what it is. It's not just that you're winning games, but you're doing it in such a fun way. Jareem is brilliant with giving everybody inside access with these IG lives and getting that video to go viral of them clapping to the Lil Baby song. Like that, I mean, not even kidding. That is huge. It is. That is huge. When you talk about it, like that went viral, that was everywhere. That was like
1 million views.
Well, and just the amount of outlets, not just that it got to like Barstool, not that I like Barstool, but that's a huge account. There were like, I don't remember.
There were multiple
Source or XXL, but like things that are going to be followed by recruits. Like those guys see that and they see how much fun this is and how much fun this team is. Like, guys, Tang is there will be no problems getting talent to Manhattan. There are going to be dudes coming in here for a long time because of what they're doing and the way that they're doing it. And so then bring it back to the New York thing. Now, I mean, think about this from like a CBS TV standpoint. You've got Naquan Tomlin on this team who grew up playing at Rucker Park, did not go to high school, or well, I feel like I shouldn't. He went to high school. He did not play high school basketball, right? And then he goes to junior college and gets picked up by K-State. So this guy that played at Rucker Park that didn't actually play high school basketball is now going to get a chance to go play in the Garden. And Marquise Noel, who grew up idolizing Kemba Walker, also New York guy that they said on the broadcast, hasn't been home in 3 years because he just dedicated himself to the game so much, now gets to go back and play in Madison Square Garden. He talked specifically about that Kemba run where he ripped through the Big East tournament and then the NCAA tournament, won all those games and won the title. That is an unbelievable story. And yes, also Tyke Green, Ish Massoud, who just hit that big shot, like Curtis Kelly, so many New York connections. But that is unbelievable storytelling that is going to go on there with these guys. And I'm just so thrilled for that to get a more national run here on this stage. It is incredible.
To be in the largest media market in the United States, heading into the Sweet 16 with that storyline with Keontae Johnson and his storyline with Jerome Tang and how charismatic he is and how likable he is and willing to show his true personality and not bottle things up like a lot of coaches do, like to show who he really is. It's huge for this program. They're going to be the talk. They're going to be one of the 16 teams remaining in the country. And so they'll be talked about nationally. And if you can win that Sweet 16 game and get to the Elite Eight, the farther you keep advancing, the more that you are talked about on a national platform. The storyline just carries itself, and there is a real opportunity here. Like I know Marquette, Michigan State are playing right now. K-State's going to play the winner of that. We saw a question earlier about who would rather have. I mean, I don't really care. I haven't given it a lot of thought. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to play Shaka Smart. I think that's a good Marquette team, but I'm not that worried about playing Shaka Smart. In fact, I kind of would rather play him than Tom Izzo in March. So we'll see what unfolds when that game. A lot of you that listen to this will be listening after the fact. We'll do another podcast to preview K-State Sweet 16 matchup in New York City later this week before that occurs. But right now it's just instant reaction to what unfolded.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are asking who we'd rather see them play. We can talk about that. I just realized I've been looking at the live comments and not Jordan's comments to us. We need to take a break. I should also mention a couple of things before we do that. Shout out to Holiday Distillery, 360 Vodka, Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon. You guys know that. I should say that slower. Someone told me I say it too fast. Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon is what you want to go check out from Holiday Distillery. Great K-State folks, I'm sure, celebrating right now. Make sure that you guys get stocked up before the Sweet 16. Get your booze on. Get it all ready to go. I should also tell you, please subscribe to the channel, the YouTube channel that you're currently watching this on, KCSNU. If you have not subscribed to it yet, please do that as well. with that, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will discuss who would we rather see, Marquette or Michigan State. That's next.
Whether you're a Chiefs, Royals, Sporting KC, KC Current, K-State, KU, or Mizzou fan, we've got you covered. Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network. Proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, and we're back. We are back. All right, this is where I kind of have to defer to Cole. And I know I saw somebody in there saying, like, I wish Derek were here to break down the matchup of Marquette or Michigan State. I will just say, like, I don't know a single human being on earth who watches more college basketball than Cole does. So I feel like literally, here's how that game went, by the way. Like, Kentucky would have, like, a guy at the line, and I would be like, Cole, what does this guy shoot from the end? 74, but he just had the number right away. Like, he already had Kentucky's entire roster memorized and all that stuff. So I trust that you've seen plenty of Marquette and Michigan State this year. Who do we want? Who would K-State rather play?
I've seen plenty of them for sure. Look, Marquette's been a great story this year. They won the Big East. They won the Big East tournament. Shaka Smart is really one of the primary contenders with Jerome Tang to be National Coach of the Year. I don't know. Like, Marquette has been the number one offensive efficiency in the country for much of the season. They're number 6 entering today in Ken Palm offensive efficiency. They're number 45 nationally on defense. If you look at them, they shoot like 60% on twos. So it's kind of the intuitive of what Shaka Smart's been in the past, like run and gun. Like they're not doing that necessarily. They're getting to the rim, and they figured out a way to go about their play. And Tyler Kolek is one of the best point guards in America. It would be a matchup of 2 of the best point guards in America. Kolek was an All-American. I think he drew 3rd or 2nd team All-American this year at Marquette. He's a lefty shooter, and Marquise Noel playing alongside. So Michigan State is a 7 seed. Like, you watch them, they don't have the talent of the traditional Michigan State teams that you see, but it's a Tom Izzo team that has figured things out and is rolling now. And they were up 5 at halftime against Marquette when we were watching earlier. So, I mean, I haven't pulled up all of the numbers. Michigan State's the number 28 Ken Palm team in the country. They're 38 in offense. They're 39 in defense. So they're pretty balanced. Tyson Walker's a really good point guard as well for them. Malik Hall, Joey Hauser, guy that can shoot the basketball. They've got a big Sanogo. I think it's Sanogo. I might be confusing him with UConn's big. But look, we'll break those down.
You're talking about Michigan State?
Yeah.
Sissoko?
Sissoko. Okay. Yeah. Sissoko. He's a big. Malik Hall's been a guy that's been around there for a while. Hauser's a guy that shoots well from 3. I'm fine with playing either one of them. I have not dove into like the turnover numbers, how many turnovers are forced. That'll be a key aspect, obviously. So we'll do that more in depth when we see what that matchup looks like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of I don't want it to seem like, hey, we're just doing the happy to be here sort of thing. But I mean, kind of at this point. I mean,
this is the instant reaction. It's hard to, just celebrate today. And
I'm kind of just like, whatever. They made it to the second freaking weekend in Jerome Tang's first year.
Because a lot of people didn't think that was going to happen today, right? I mean, I didn't wake up feeling great about
I didn't. Can I be honest about something here? Because we were giving DY some grief because DY predicted Kentucky officially, and I think I saw someone in the chat giving them some grief for that too. I did a radio hit with FanDuel's. Anyways, like this big national radio, right? They were like, "Hey, come on and do this," and they asked me at the end. They were like, "What do you think? Who's going to win the game?" I think they even asked does K-State cover, and they had it at 2.5. And I was like, I feel like Kentucky wins the game by 1 possession. So I was like, 1 to 2 possessions, right on that line. But I feel like Kentucky wins the game. So I was in the same boat. Like we talked after the Montana State game. We were kind of like, hey, that was nice. That was fun. Avoid the upset. Yep. Love it. But I don't think either of us were supremely confident in winning this game today before the game.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, I did not, I think I told you before the game started that I just wanted the game to be over with. I was not looking forward to the next 2.5 hours of what was going to unfold. And it was an exhausting 2.5 hours. You had to withstand some runs. Kentucky getting off to the 15-7 lead, K-State bouncing back, then taking a 3-point lead into halftime. And then Kentucky, after K-State gets up 5 to start the second half, going on an 11-0 run. And that did not feel great when Kentucky was up 39-31. But then Desi Sills, actually, he hits a layup to get it 39-33 and then makes an incredible 3-point play on a really difficult shot at the rim to get it to 39-36. And then I think K-State actually, Marquise hit his first three at that point after to tie it at 39 over Shibwe. Just an incredible swing of emotions as that game went on. K-State got up 47-43. Kentucky came back. They took a 1-point lead. Then Kentucky got up 4 later. I mean, you talk about a game with a lot of lead changes throughout that first and second half, really just incredible. And I don't know if, John, if we've talked maybe about Marquise Noel enough.
I mean, probably not.
Like we gave the stats, but like you could tell Marquise really, really wanted this game. By the way, like you see him when he made a shot, like when he
spiked the ball there. I loved whoever Kentucky's guard was there, just like gave him this side eye, like, what are you doing, man? But it was one where he should have gotten a foul, you know, and Lord knows if it were Shibwe or whoever in there, it would have been a foul. But I digress. Yes, you can see.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I just thought, and somebody commented earlier. I'm sorry, I didn't see who it was that commented. And I see Mason, you say Michigan State's up 48-45 with 7 minutes to go. So that's going to be a crazy finish there. Somebody asked Marquise Noel to the rafters. John, what is Marquise Noel? I mean, him and Keontae are both All-Americans. Like, well, can they both make it?
I got asked that by Carrington on 610 this week or last week. I feel like it was even before the tourney. So I want to say it was last week. And he said, Are either of those guys, like, are they going into the rafters? And I said, well, if they make if the Final Four run, yeah, they're probably both going to the rafters, right? Marquise for sure, for being the guy that stuck around and kept everything together. But I think no doubt probably both of them if that were to happen. Especially like Keontae's shot today. I mean, I don't care how he played the rest of the game. He hit that shot and a part of a Final Four run if that happens. I was like, anything short of that, I was like, not getting to the second weekend, probably not.
I think getting to the second weekend maybe changes things.
I was going to say now we're like in that territory where you're knocking on that door. But the thing is, like, Keese is going to be ahead, I would imagine, because of the fact that he was the guy that kept everything together. He bought into Jerome Tang big time. He had the crazy faith that they talk about. And he did a lot of the recruiting for Keontae and everybody to just maintain the roster. So not just the way he's played, but you combine all of it with that. I think he's got a real chance. Keontae, it's like the point that I made when I got asked that was like, I mean, Michael Beasley's jersey still isn't up in the rafters as like a one and done guy. Now he only made it to the round of 32. But if we're not going to put Beasley in the rafters, and I remember a lot of the conversation, there are still people that'll tell you, which I think is ludicrous, but there are still people today that will tell you, no, he doesn't belong there because he was only here for 1 year. I think that's pretty stupid, and it would be a nice move for the program to put a guy that people know that played in the NBA up in the rafters. But close. I would think right now, like Marquise is probably there. Right?
Yeah, I think he will be. I mean, Marquise has 266 assists on the season. In the Montana State game, he moved to 7-point assists, 8 assists per game, which moved him to the top 5 in Big 12 history. In terms of assists per game in a single season, he passed TJ Ford's 2002-2003 season at Texas in assists per game. I mean, 266 assists, 17-plus points a game, Sweet 16 run, 2-year guy. I mean, I think that helps him, even though the last year wasn't extremely successful, obviously. And 27-9 today, 7 of 14 from the floor, 3 of 8 from 3, the 9 assists. Like, I thought he just played a really nice floor game. I mean, he really took care of the basketball. I know he had 4 turnovers, but I like most of his turnovers didn't lead to runouts. Really, I think he maybe had one that led to a one in transition for Kentucky, but most of them, like a couple of them, were dead ball turnovers and nothing really egregious on his end. I thought he played really composed, had control of that game, and has put up some numbers that are some of the best in Big 12 history, like free throw shooting, steals per game, assists per game, assist rate. I mean, he's been incredible, and that's K-State's 6th in the country in assists per field goals made, largely because of what Marquise Noel brings to the table. And John, just to answer a question earlier about Marquette or Michigan State, here's a fun stat for you, because I've told you about the turnovers per possession forced by an opponent and how big it is. If 19.5% or under, K-State's 14-2 on the year. Marquette is 18th in the country at 22.5% in turnovers per possession forced. Michigan State, 345th in the country at 14.4%.
Go Sparty!
14.4% at turnovers per possession forced for Michigan State. That would be the lowest of any team K-State has played on the entire season. Lowest out of any opponent. So, Tom Izzo, let's finish this thing.
What do they do well?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. Okay. Sparty. Yes, I would rather take Sparty.
They shoot the three well. They hit like 12 threes in the second half at Nebraska and Lincoln in a game I was watching. Like they have some guys that can be on and off. I mean, I also lost money on them in a game when they lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. So,
yeah, Big Ten not doing so hot. They're the last team left, right? In the Big Ten,
Indiana tonight.
Oh,
but the Big Ten had 8 teams make it, and they're down to 2 before the Sweet 16. And the ACC could potentially have everybody knocked out too, right? With Pitt losing today if Miami loses, because Virginia and Duke are out.
I think so. And I mean, the way that the tournament is going so far for K-State fans' rooting interests, I would say that Nigel Pack in Miami might want to watch out and be careful. I mean, look, I guess I really don't care. But let's recap that. And someone said earlier, like, thank God for K-State saving the Big 12 and being ratioed by the SEC, which is so true because, you know, we can't get Kansas to hold up their end of the bargain, right? And so K-State has to come in and get it done today. But I mean, in all seriousness, like I know you said, Cole, we're not going to spend too much time. Okay. But Iowa State loses in like a historically bad performance when they had Kansas City lined up. Not only that, they got teased by was it Kennesaw that was ahead of Xavier there for a while. So they're thinking, hey, man, we got to play this crappy Pitt team, this crappy ACC team, and then we're going to get Kennesaw, and then we get to go to Kansas City for the Sweet 16. No, just a historically bad shooting performance in an L. Then you got Missouri sitting there, and you guys know how annoyed I've been of all the talk of Dennis Gates being on the same level as Jerome Tang. Dennis Gates gets the chance to play Princeton, a 15 seed, Princeton, to go to the Sweet 16, and not only doesn't win, but just gets punked. I mean, just gets pummeled by Princeton. Then Kansas blows their lead, loses to Arkansas. They get shirted off by Musselman. You know, he's out there waving his shirt around shirtless on the scores table, which was probably a bit over the top, but I did enjoy it because it was happening at the expense of Kansas. And now K-State comes through as the one local school here to still win and to be on to the Sweet 16. So, I mean, I know Kansas City doesn't talk a whole lot about K-State usually, but if they're going to be talking hoops this week, you would think that K-State is going to get some love here. Like it has been a pretty damn sweet year. If we go all the way back to the Big 12 championship, obviously in football, and now continuing over to hoops, Cole, all the jokes that we took about best opening press conference ever and like making such a big deal about that for Tang, and then the haves versus the have-nots and the selection show and all that stuff. And now here is K-State still plugging along in the tourney, and Kansas sitting on their ass at home. That's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
It's actually the fifth time since 2014 KU's gotten bounced in the second round of the NCAA tournament, which was kind of hard to believe. You
texted that to us earlier today, and I was like, I could not believe that.
They lost to Stanford with Wiggins when they were a 2 seed, playing a 10 in the second round, and then obviously lost. You know, they lost in the 4-5 to Auburn a few years ago. They lost to an 8 or 9 before that. Another time, I mean, it's been a tough run in the second round. That seems to be their bugaboo. Once they get past it, they tend to make a run. And you asked like what Michigan State does well. They're nearly 40% from three on the year, 76% from the free throw line. So yeah, that's one of the dangers of playing them. But yeah, I mean, look, what you just said, like, yeah, I mean, KC doesn't get talked a lot in KC. Like that's why you tune into KC Sports Network and us on 3 Mall, right? Because we're going to talk about it.
Wednesday night, 6 o'clock on 610.
All right.
I will be on the air. Wednesday night, 6 o'clock on 610.
For an hour. Listen to our guy, John Kurtz, on 610 radio in Kansas City as well on those Wednesday nights. But outside of that, like you can always rely on us. We're going to carry multiple episodes a week to talk K-State. So we'll always be here for you.
People, I've seen this a couple times. Robbie is the latest to request this, but they want to know Brody's take on the game.
I mean, he thought K-State was winning 97-90, so I didn't post that. I'm a little outlandish.
You don't want it. You don't want it after the Texas thing. Believe me, Cole. I saw the Kentucky fans in my mentions for 24 hours. You do not want to subject Brody to Big Blue Nation.
There's a reason
I did not want to do that.
That's exactly why I didn't do it. I mean, I saw what Texas fans did to him, and I knew I've been around Kentucky fans before, Kentucky basketball fans. I was in St. Louis for the NCAA tournament in 2014. Like, I know how they are. I know how they behave, and some of their fans can be the most obnoxious in America. I mean, that is a unique fan base. We were talking earlier, like they got John Higgins' number to his roofing business one time, official. I expect to see John Kurtz trolling Kentucky fans all night on Twitter, on social media. Like, I can't wait for that. because I know they were going after John for some tweets earlier today and yesterday. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I did not want to subject Brody to that. Brody was very excited, obviously. Like, I mean, we were losing our mind or the last minute. I don't know if he knows he's not going to New York City.
Well, I'm glad okay, so I didn't know if he was or not. And I almost, in the celebration, like heat of the moment, like I almost reached over and was like, Brody, get ready for New York or something, man. But then I was like, I don't know if he's actually going.
Did you hear me? He was like, so we're going to New York?
Oh,
and
no,
I'm
I did not
like,
hear that.
Well, your mom and I are, but that's an expensive ticket to take you to as well. So
Cole, see, I remember I was furious with my parents back in 1996 when K-State made the Cotton Bowl, and I was 7 years old. And my parents didn't take me to the Cotton Bowl, and they brought me back this little Southwestern Bell Cotton Bowl teddy bear. And I just remember being like furious, like, okay, thanks. Like
I would have ripped that to shreds.
Yeah,
that's not a memory you want to live. You checked on Cyclone Larry. Hey, he hitched his wagons to Kansas State in his Twitter.
He did, actually. Yeah, Cyclone Larry said he's getting on the K-State bandwagon. So, for Iowa State fans, that's all they got now. They got a 4-win football team, and all they have is and they got a basketball team that can't score. Not only is Iowa State losing, but they play the most bland, boring style of basketball you could possibly play. Meanwhile, K-State's just a swag machine, from coaching staff on down. I'd be bowing at the altar of K-State too, and getting on board. You might as well. I mean, God, can you think about the offense Iowa State fans have had to watch all year? They watched Tom Manning's disaster in football this year, and then they go from watching Hunter Deckers to watching whatever that was in the NCAA tournament this year. Like, good Lord, that's a rough life, man.
Yeah, not fun for them for sure. Well, hey, I mean, I think that's good, right? I don't have anything else.
Yeah,
I know Jordan. I know our guy Jordan. He's got another show to go at 6:30 here on KC Sports Network. So shout out to Jordan for producing this for us on short notice.
Yes, and shout out to everybody that's hung out here in the chat. We appreciate you all. I'm sure we'll be back at it soon, later in the week. I don't know what exactly the plan is going to be for that, but we'll figure it out and get you something. It's going to be a quick turnaround, man, because we're going Thursday, Saturday here. So Thursday is going to be like, man, it comes up quick. Comes up really, really quick.
You kind of want it to be Friday because you want to relish in the moment a little longer, but it'll be here Thursday, and I guess enjoy some Ben Holiday bottled in Mon bourbon Thursday night after getting to the Elite Eight, and Friday pound some more.
For sure. There's going to be a lot of that if K-State's going to Houston in the Final Four. I don't think I'm going to be able to make this New York trip.
Nonsense. Guys, we win when John is with me. Always happens. So get him to New York City like he always tries to pressure me to do stuff, like to get you guys to pressure me to go to trips. Let's get John to New York.
Might need a little help on the next.
You need me to have shout out to your employer's email address. Get out of something.
Well, I was also gonna say, might need to up those YouTube Live donations when we're going in. That's gonna happen. I may just have to save the bullets in the chamber for Houston.
Well, Vanessa thought we were going to Maui for our 10-year anniversary this year in May, but I think we're gonna blow the budget on New York City for Cats. Right?
Well, and then Houston. I mean, you gotta be ready for Houston.
The budget will be gone for Maui by the time Houston's wrapped up in the Final Four.
I mean, like that. Nothing will stop me. Nothing will stop me from getting to Houston if that happens. I promise you that. Nothing will stop me.
We will be in my minivan driving to Houston together. So.
No, I'm flying, dude. That's a terrible drive. I drove that with my dad in high school for the Texas Bowl in 2006.
I drove it too.
That is disgustingly long. It's like a 14-hour drive.
It's a bad drive, but when we're with family together, nothing like it.
Hashtag family. Okay. All right. I've got crazy faith that you'll drive us all the way there, Cole. That's what I got. All right, guys, we appreciate you. We lost the family when you two weren't together. Well, yeah, all right. Well, you can blame me for this one then.
That's true.
Anyway.
It cost us a sugar bowl.
Yeah.
That's me, actually, because I didn't go.
Yeah, that was absolutely you. I trekked it. And I drove. Anyway, okay. We're rambling. Appreciate you guys. Thank you to Jordan for hopping on and doing this for us right now. Take care. We will see you soon. Go Cats.